You're listening to the Modern Mainframe, BMC's Intelligence-Z Optimization and Transformation podcast, covering the latest trends and issues in mainframe DevOps, data, operations, security, and cloud. You've never mainframed like this. Hey everyone, welcome to the Modern Mainframe. I'm Matt Delaire. Today we're talking about AIOps, its current state, how it addresses some of the hurdles ops teams are facing today, and how organizations can benefit from its use. Joining me for the discussion are BMC Director of Product Management, Alan Warhurst, and Field Chief Technology Officer, Jeremy Hamilton. Alan, Jeremy, thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Jeremy, you're out in the field visiting customers. Where is AIOps today, and more specifically, where is it for the mainframe?
It's been interesting. I think a few years ago, when AIOps first became a water cooler conversation, the promise really was that it would come in and you could have a lights out data center. But that kind of fizzled. The technology at the time wasn't there. There were different, factors. People weren't ready to shut the lights off in their data center. Where it's at today, in my humble opinion, is it's focusing on the employee, focusing on the person. How can we augment what they're doing today? Make them more productive, make them more effective in their jobs. And that's really where I think AIOps is today, is it's taking what a person is doing and automating a lot of the tasks that may, slow that person down, that may introduce risk to getting the conversation incorrect. It may, would take too much time to go research certain topics. AIOps really is able to take the data and learn from the system itself and codify a lot of that to augment what they're doing. Alan, would you add anything to that?
Yeah, no, I think I totally agree with that, Jeremy. I think, like you say, it's augmenting and superpowering somebody. I think for a lot of organizations, they're really focused on doing that because of what they've seen in terms of the changing of the guard, running the mainframe, the younger people coming through, different expectations, but also different skill sets, knowledge and understanding. And then I think the other thing that I've really seen is just this kind of consolidation and complexity thing of, okay, yeah, people would look after small numbers of big-ish systems. Those systems seem to have got bigger and bigger and bigger and been more connected and all that kind of stuff as well.
What are some of the monitoring hurdles that workers are facing today?
There's probably a couple of areas. I think that the first one and the most obvious one is just, the mainframe's like a really well-instrumented system. And there's just so much data that comes out all of the time. You can get a million numbers for an individual system. Working out which ones are important and which ones aren't important, and then working out where things have changed. So when you really look at monitoring, and the purpose of monitoring is to avoid a problem. The thing you're mostly looking for is, am I following a normal pattern? And that pattern of normal back, 20, 25 years ago when I was a junior sysprog and I used to do it, we used to sit and watch the 1 or 2 or 3 systems that we had to look at, and we would know what that pattern was. Well, today, you're not looking after one system, you're looking after 20 or 30 or 40 or maybe 200, and that picture changes all the time. So you can't, you don't have the time to do that. You've got loads of other stuff to do. So that's one of the really key areas, is just that true volume of data, and then really understanding how that data is changing over time, and whether that changes a normal change or whether that changes something that perhaps you want to look at a little bit more.
Yeah, I don't think it's any secret. Systems are getting more complex and workloads are getting more volatile. Non-traditional access points, for example, are growing on the mainframe. API workloads, I've seen that grow in the last couple of years more than I've ever seen it. And the people who develop those APIs may not have a lot of mainframe background. They're building the API to go get a routine, but then they don't even know what that routine has done, or why it was created in the first place, or what type of load testing has been done. A lot of different things that are happening to make the platform more complex. The standard transaction still completes, but now you get all these other pieces from the external environment trying to get into the mainframe and access what's going on there. And that complexity, it really makes it hard to get to the level of visibility that you need.
AI has brought with it the promise of using advanced technology to mitigate these issues. AI ops, hybrid AI, and intelligent automation are all said to help in respective areas. Let's discuss what these areas are. AI ops. Can we get a little bit of a definition, Jeremy, of what AI ops really is?
Yeah. So, just from a high level, it's using AI technologies to bring together information from a lot of different sources and handle the complexity and the volume of data in a automated manner. AI is really good at handling big, large data sets. And when we apply that AI to operations and being able to help what's going on within the operations side, now you're able to consume the overall view of what's going on within the mainframe.
Alan, we hear a lot about hybrid AI. Can you maybe delve a little bit into what that actually means?
Yeah, sure. So hybrid AI is the term that's kind of come out. There's a lot of discussion in AI ops and in companies that are using various AI technologies about what they use. To drive to real value and to turn it into something that can either truly be automated or can certainly help superpower a human, like we've already sort of talked about. Actually, the answer today is that one form of AI, whether that's machine learning or rules-based AI, or what we've seen certainly in the market over explosively across all kinds of things, probably over the last 12, 18 months in terms of generative AI. One of those things on its own, one of those pieces of AI on its own adds some value. But if you can combine them in a sensible manner, so you use things like machine learning to help do anomaly detection, which it's particularly good at, and you use rules-based AI to sort of walk down a decision tree path and understand it, and then you use generative AI to really help add additional sources of information into that, maybe produce you some pretty charts and all those kind of things to make it more human consumable and really turn all of that data that's there into information, into intelligence, and then you can automate from it, or you can go away and do it. Um, that combo of all of those different technologies, and there's other AI technologies that I haven't mentioned there. That's just part of an example. That combo together is what's known as hybrid AI. So that's this. Okay, let's take all of the different. Because if you sit in a room with an AI architect and you start talking about machine learning, they will start talking to you about the specific algorithm and all of those kind of things and go, well, that one's not really machine learning. That's this and that's that. And people can get a little bit wound around the axle on the real fine details of the technology, not the value that's there. Hybrid is this thing of, okay, well, let's take everything that's appropriate. Let's use the right algorithms, the right methods for the parts of the picture that we need to sort out. And then that combo together really gives you a truly powerful AI system to then answer the questions, drive, automate your systems, do whatever else you need to do.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it like the AI portion, the machine learning portion, is kind of like your five senses. You got hearing, sight, touch. It's seeing and feeling what's going on within the environment. And then the generative AI piece is bringing in all that information and then being able to communicate with the user, being able to communicate with the system what the next piece is. So when you combine them, that's where you get to the hybrid aspect.
You both recently contributed to a webinar on the subject of the 7 benefits of AI ops. Where are we today in terms of AI ops in the mainframe? And how is the technology currently helping with mainframe operations?
So I think where we're sat today with it, I think machine learning based systems for anomaly detection for sure are, I'm going to say, relatively prevalent. Most organizations have a capability, or most software vendors have some kind of capability in that space. There's still challenges around getting real value from some of those systems. So some of those are quite simply just a better single alarm of, okay, yeah, normally at this time, your CSA isn't entirely used or something like that, but don't really take you through into an answer. Some vendors, BMC being one of them, have kind of stepped on a little bit from that. So they look at a wider range of systems. So it's true multivariate AI, machine learning. And that's really more powerful. And then we're just at the start of, rules-based AI, to really sort of start to walk through and go, okay, I can see a challenge here. Let me do some more investigation. The AI does that for you. Those systems have been around maybe for a couple of years and are starting to show real promise and real value in capturing that knowledge. And the generative AI space, I think today is very immature. So that's on the lines of, okay, I can kind of see bits of data here and bits of data there, but the pace of evolution there is really, really quick. So there's a thing of, okay, this data model maybe doesn't give me the greatest answer, but the one that comes out next month or the one that comes out the one after, for sure, is definitely stepping us down that path. I think, and that's all about kind of this. I really want to be able to detect and understand the system. I think that the stage that people haven't really stepped into and embraced yet is the autonomy side of it. So, okay, how do I take all of this detection and understanding and ability to generate a piece of automation or, really sort of walk me through and go, I think it's this user or this batch job. I don't think any vendor's quite there from a technology point of view, but certainly any customer is there from the point of view of going, I'm just going to let you do that. A bit like self-driving cars, where today you can drive a self-driving car down the highway and, companies are playing with it. Maybe the mainframe's a little bit behind that in terms of doing that autonomy and letting the system just automatically do that. Certainly from an AI-driven perspective, customers aren't quite there yet. And I think from my perception, what I see is that the technology could absolutely be there. Tomorrow, a number of those things could be stitched together and made to do. But the confidence from a customer point of view and from okay, are you going to allow, a massive organization that's massively dependent on its mainframe on this AI? They're not quite as confident in it. So what we've been focusing on is how we help customers understand how AI perceives the system, giving them advice and recommendation, and then, stepping them into, okay, that really turns into action and becoming truly, autonomous. I think that's going to take a few more years yet for customers to gain that confidence in it, for us to be able to show that confidence in it, and then to be able to use it.
Yeah, when I think of the question in great explanation, Alan, I 100% agree. There's a few different tools out there that help you get there. The blessing and the curse of the mainframe is that it's relatively a closed loop system. The DB2 is connected to a CACS, connected to storage, connected to an MQ, and all the intricate pieces within the platform are really dependent on one another. One of the pieces starts getting out of a norm, then it can affect a lot of different pieces within the system. So the AI portion is able to take advantage of that closed loop system and create a map or an algorithm that will look at all the different small pieces within the mainframe and understand what normal is, understand what is unacceptable, and understand which of the pieces down the line are going to be impacted going forward. And that's where I see, a lot of customers getting a lot of advantages out of it. Think of SLAs. If you are in danger of missing an SLA because, your DB2 is slowing down or CACS is running hot on CPU, if you get a little bit of advanced knowledge, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours advanced knowledge of that particular problem, now you can go and fix it before anybody's impacted.
And speaking of advanced knowledge, how does predictive analytics help reduce risks?
Well, I think that it's really difficult to foresee someone cutting a communications line or a tsunami of workload come in, from the outside world. However, with machine learning and AI, you're able to detect those particular issues at the earliest possible moment, get that advanced anomaly that is going to cause a ripple effect, get the advanced knowledge of, okay, we've seen a problem over here, but now it's going to cascade through the system and impact something in the next hour or 2 hours. So that predictability to me really is more about understanding how the tapestry runs together and which parts are going to be impacted going forward.
Yeah, and I think the phrase predictive analytics is one that we have to be careful using. Where most of the systems are today is, and certainly the BMC system is, it detects, like Jeremy says, absolutely detects that problem early. We know that that's really important thing to look at. You really want to go and look at that. And that's really shortening your, okay, I can find this really early in the life cycle. That gives you the gift of time to do the investigation. With the extra AI in terms of, decision tree processing and some of the generative stuff that will come, that will provide you like a little bit of mainframe expertise so you can ask it questions a bit more. What that does is that really helps you hone into, I've got a problem here and I need to take some action. And you know that rather than waiting the, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours for the world's on fire, 1 million people are on your phone and you're busy just dealing with that and being on a Slack major incident, or maybe going off into a war room. You've got all the luxury of time to go, okay, yeah, I know this, I understand this, I know what I need to do. And then you can pick the right time to go and do action and go, yeah, I know I've got a problem. We're going to have a problem, guys. We think it's this thing over here. We know it's this thing over here. What we need to do is cancel this or change this or back this change out. And therefore you can do that in a way that minimizes that impact to service. So that is all about how you turn ultimately what feels like a reactive system of, I've got a problem, let me go fix, to, yeah, you have got a problem, but you found it so early that it's not really affecting the service. So it isn't a problem yet. Let's go sort and let's do.
I always think of the person, the person with their hands on the keyboard. If the alarm bells are going off and everyone's looking at your screen, you're going to take this, the quickest, easiest path to fix this problem. Usually that's a rollback. Maybe it's a change or something, hey, let's roll this stuff back until the system fixes. Now, if you have a little bit of buffer, if you got a couple of hours of lead time before anybody starts, looking over your shoulder, and then now you're able to fix the problem the way it should be fixed. And that's really one of the biggest benefits that I see, coming from AIOps.
And also with the individual of Alan, you mentioned that it can help give some mainframe expertise.
Yeah.
How does hybrid AI and the use of AIOps help bridge the gap between new and old experience on the mainframe and maybe help people get up to speed faster?
Yeah, so I think that's, that again is at multi-layers. So you pick the traditional AI ML and that kind of multivariant ML type piece. That's been built and designed based on many years worth of expertise. So what you are monitoring and what you are looking at are really important numbers. So you're not sat there with a list of 1,000 numbers going, well, which one do I care about? You know that that's been monitored and picked up in the right way. Then that walkthrough of, okay, well, this is related to that and that's related to this and this can cause a problem over here type conversation, again, is all baked into the piece. So that whole path of, okay, I'm going to walk you through a path now and this number over here has gone bad. But what that means is that this thing over here is actually the problem because of the interrelationships. That's baked into some of this rules-based AI and machine learning-based AI. And then when you add in kind of a generative approach on top, which says, okay, well, what does this mean? What does that mean? Can I pull information out of a manual? Can I pull general mainframe expertise into my conversation? So I can see an error message or I can see something. What does that mean? And having that really embedded into the experience, that combo then really means that your new and career person can make a decision faster based on real stats and a real logic process. And actually, one of the focuses that we've had on how we deliver this is we help explain that what we're doing all along the way. So they learn from those skill sets and they go, yeah, okay, I can see this and see that and see the other. The aim is kind of to have that more experienced person sat beside you, but virtually in the computer kind of thing. So the monitor is really helping you do that. And so that combo there really means that the new and career person can learn. Also, the really experienced person can validate and understand what they're being told far quicker. So they don't have to sit and hunt and graft and shift through a load of data and all of those kind of things. That combo means that their time is their precious time. And, most organizations have lost vast amounts of skill over the last couple of years. So they may still have some experienced people there, but the amount of time that they can spend and should be spending on some of these problems needs to be greatly reduced. So they can walk through that process and go, yeah, no, this makes sense and this is okay. So that combo together means it truly just bridges that gap, really, really helps that experienced person, but also gives some of the new in career people that fast path, but also an explanation of what that fast path really means so that they can diagnose and get to that resolution faster in future.
Yeah. There's really no replacing experience. The people who've been around the platform for years, they know where all the nooks and crannies are within the environment. That is a real key asset that every company has. So how can you offload as much from that experienced person as possible, and make the new person productive? And let's face it, in the past couple of years, I've seen more retirements in the past couple of years than I probably did in the previous 5. Once that experience walks out the door, it's gone. And you have to hire more people, or you have to hire contractors, or a lot of expensive options that are out there. With AI Ops, you can take your new and career person and augment what they're able to do and get them up to speed a lot faster in being productive within the environment.
Now, I think we've touched on this a little bit already just in the course of talking about it, but how does AI Ops provide unified visibility across the system?
Well, it's interesting. Pretty much every customer out there has a DB2 monitor, a CACS monitor, an MQ monitor. There's enough monitors out there to fill a desktop. What AIOps is able to do is combine the data from those different siloed tools into a single platform, making it easier to take a look at, where is the root cause of this problem? Where do we need to look? What do we need to do in order to fix whatever issue is going on? So instead of just having a tunnel view or multiple tunnels of view, now you're able to combine the data from all the different pieces and get a unified structure of what's going on within the environment.
And I think that, as we talked about before, one of the key things about AIOps is helping you see the wood for the trees type of thing. So it is that piece around, okay, it hones you into the important pieces of data. So, Jeremy said you have 10 different tunnels because you've got 10 different monitors, but all of those monitors have probably got 500 metrics in them. How do you bring those together in an intelligent, important way? And in some cases, that additional AI insight about, okay, over here, this metric's gone because it's not normal. You can see that part together. But then if you combine metrics from multiple products and multiple areas, you kick your DB2 and all those kind of things together and really look at them together, you're doing that kind of problem diagnosis that actually even experienced humans sometimes are challenged with, because a lot of systems programmers and those kind of things have very specific levels of expertise. So they're a very specific kicks guy, and he goes, yeah, this is okay. It's gone to DB2. I need to talk to my DB2 DBA. Well, you can actually bake all of that knowledge in, particularly with things like rules-based AI. You can bake all of that knowledge together to run that process and that flow through the AI straight away. And so it's like having the kicks guy, the AMS guy, the DB2 guy, the MQ guy, all lined up and all looking at the data together to go, yeah, we think there's a problem and it's because of this flow here. So it really offers the ability to kind of mix all of those things together, but really surfacing up the important parts so that somebody can then deal with it.
How does AI Ops optimize resource usage and help reduce costs?
I think there's a couple of ways you can look at that question. So some of it is purely about helping you to identify anomalies. So if you're identifying anomalies early, the ability to do that means, invariably in most problem scenarios, you end up using more physical resource than you would have done if you didn't have a problem. If the system runs all great, then why worry? CPU usage, memory usage, those kind of things are really, really important. It also allows you to identify trending over time. So you can kind of see that, okay, maybe I've got a problem here or there. And, that part of AIOps, that visibility stuff that we just talked about in terms of, okay, can I see the data? Can I have the data visualized for me in a kind of an observability frame and all those kind of pieces? That together really means that you can start to see, okay, I need to concentrate and spend my time here or there. Actually, I think what we will increasingly see is, both identification of, okay, you've got high resource usage in some way, shape or form here, but then also analysis of that data, whether that's analysis of code or, SQL or whatever it is, to really help you with, well, maybe I'm in a world where I think it's a problem with this application over here. I've looked at the code for that application, and did you know you can optimize your SQL like this, or you could put an index on, or you could do that? when we start to bring in the hybrid approach, where we start to bring in some of that generative, let me suggest the problem here and that kind of stuff. So the machine learning helps you identify, you do. But generally speaking, from an AIOps point of view, it's more about, okay, if we find the problem early, we don't have the problem in terms of service affecting. And one of the biggest challenges whenever you get any kind of service outages, catching back up with all the work that you should have done. And that can be a massive, cost and impact ongoing for hours or days afterwards because things stopped in some way, shape, or form.
Cost is always number one or number two, and what keeps mainframe managers up at night. And being able to get your arms around what those costs are and where your dollar is really going. Is it, most people, if they run into a problem, especially the really large customers, throw more hardware or more compute at the issue. One customer I talked to is growing at I think it was a 12% clip year over year, but no understanding of whether it was because they have organic workload coming in, revenue generating workload, or just workload that just continues to grow because of inefficiencies in the environment or in the code. So being able to, use AI to point out those inefficiencies, to point out the performance bottlenecks is really key to getting your arms around cost.
I'd like to look forward for a couple of questions. Jeremy, how does hybrid AI help organizations prepare for the future?
Well, for one thing, it helps with scalability and resilience. So think about scalability. We talked about the users being able to get each person within the organization to be as productive as possible, augment what they're doing with almost like a superpower. Now, as the environment changes and workloads change, the configurations change, being able to quickly and in the most simple terms, adjust for those changes and augment that person's knowledge of where the pieces are helps to future-proof that person going forward. Same with resilience. When a problem occurs within the environment's changed in the last, 3 or 4 months, people don't know that these CACS regions are running on particular LPAR. Now that the AI can go through and sort through all the noise, sort through all the changes that have occurred and present the person with the valuable information to fix the issue. And so the adaptability piece really is key. The knowledge is built in, being able to communicate, make decisions, understand, one, what's happening within the environment, and two, what does that mean in real human form, helps to get to that scalability aspect.
So, in keeping with the future looking aspect of this, Alan, I'll ask you first to get out your crystal ball and maybe give a suggestion of where we'll be going in the future with AIOps, and what do you see as the next evolution of AIOps?
So I think, like you say, crystal ball is always the challenge. So I think over the next couple of years, I think we will really start to find the sweet spot for where generative fits into that hybrid picture. Refinement of the machine learning based systems and some of the decision tree based systems and some of the other technologies will fit in. Generative will fit in terms of knowledge augmentation for sure. It may also get involved in some of the management around some of the machine learning based systems, which today you go away rebuilding models and doing all those kind of things. Self-aware models and those kind of pieces, I think, will come in. So the AI will be even more kind of just dump it on your system and it just works. There's very little guidance it will need to do. I think that's where a lot of focus is right now. Generative on top to really drive forward with bringing knowledge in, bringing tribal knowledge. And for those people that are retiring, how do you bring in some of that information and embedding that within the system? And then I think the real, as I think I've mentioned, for me, the place where the rubber really starts to hit the road and we get really exciting is when we hook in that automation engine. So when we go from AI that sort of warns, informs, maybe recommends a little bit to it just goes and does. And what the timeline is on that, I don't know. Some of that will be confidence for sure, but the pace of change within that space and yes, I'm getting a good answer. Yes, I'm getting the right answer. And yes, I agree it's coming. That accuracy level is going up all of the time. So then having it where you go, okay, well, I'm just going to go away and do that fix. You would tell me if that's what I need to do, or I'd make that tweak. I'm just going to go and do that for you. That's going to be the real sort of next wave as we start to do it. starting with very simple use cases, very easy to recognize use cases, but with certainly more intelligence than we do today. So, automation's a big thing. I see a message, I take an action. I see a message, I take an action. All mainframes do that and do that incredibly well, which is one of the reasons they're so available. But moving that more into the, okay, and maybe there's a bit of a decision to make here, maybe there's a bit of a thought process that needs to go in here, or maybe even if it's just the source of, yeah, I need to do this particular action is more intelligent, I think we'll start to really see some of that. And the AI then starts to become what's referred to as agentic. So it kind of does stuff for you. It doesn't just help you and draw you a pretty graph or whatever.
Yeah, I think, something you said really stuck out to me, Alan, was around the generative part. You think about generative AI, what it does is it takes in large amounts of information, and then it basically creates what you ask it to create. So I want to know how to restart a CACS region. Okay. It reads through all this information and puts it back in human readable form as that model matures. So as we put more and more of that tribal information into the large language model that it's looking at, now its suggestions become more and more relevant. And to me, that's key. There's not a systems programmer out there today that, those guys are some of the most conservative people I know that would sit there and just trust something because it's a black box and it spit out an answer. It has to be verified. It has to be looked at. And before we can just go lights off and let it run the data center. So as the model matures, I see more and more of that acceptance, getting the lower hanging fruit, so to speak, some of the easier test cases, making sure that it knows what it's talking about. And now all of a sudden you start trusting it a little bit more. And I see that happening as well.
Well, so for the first one, Jeremy, I'll ask you the first question kind of first, and then Alan, if you want to add on, and then I'll flip it around for the second one. Yeah. So Jeremy, what's the first step organizations should take if they want to adopt AIOps?
I think the first step they should take is a cultural step, looking at, how that their processes are done today, looking at, where people are having to put their hands on keyboards, looking at what the process is that their organization goes through to solve problems. Once you take a look at how that the process is done today, the next step is, okay, do we want to build our own AIOps platform or use a platform that's out there and build in our own knowledge, or look for one that has, the information already built into it with the models and the data analytics and pieces built into that. Now there's really the two models that are out there. And then, once you decide how your processes are done today, and then you have, decision on what type of AIOps platform to use, then go after some of those easier problems and say, get some quick wins. And those aren't easy wins, but there are quick wins. And those quick wins will help build momentum going into further of AIOps.
Alan, do you have anything to add?
No, I think Jeremy sums it up incredibly well. I think, it is that thing about, okay, start small. There's an awful lot of, and like Jeremy says, they're not necessarily easy in terms of what you go and do, but the value that's there is really, really important. Don't go into it thinking, oh my gosh, next week I can switch off I can remove everybody from my data center and turn out the lights and it's just going to run itself, because it won't. But building, getting that, starting to analyze some of your data, so driving some of those things through and really going after some of those pain points to give your team the time to do that and to really improve service and those kind of things. Yeah, there's huge benefits in taking that approach and really think about it in a deliberate way in terms of the business benefit you want to get, not just that, I want to do AIOps, I'll go and create a data lake or whatever it is. Really focus on a business benefit piece, because that will help guide you on. There's lots of organizations out there that have tools and things in that kind of space, and they've all got slightly different focuses and different approaches to how they achieve a piece and a goal. Some of them are very heavy on, massive capabilities, but a lot of knowledge and skills need to go in. Some are very light on skills and knowledge, but maybe haven't got all of the capabilities yet in terms of what you can do with them.
Yeah, just to follow on, one of the biggest mistakes I see customers make is they don't measure it. They don't measure how things were before and then measure the success of the low hanging fruit. And then their executive buyer, their executive that's sponsoring, an AI ops initiative, they can't really compare. Okay, well, how was it before? Did we save an hour? Did we save 3 days? And if you can measure it and understand what the impacts are from implementing AI ops, that's a huge part of getting into an AI ops initiative.
To close things out, Alan, I'll ask you first, aside from the modern mainframe, where can listeners learn more about AI ops and how it can help the mainframe?
Well, I think, and I'll put my BMC hat on and say, we've got a lot of stuff published out there. There's various webinars and blogs available from bmc.com to kind of give you a little bit more information about it, white papers and those kind of things. They generally cover the sort of the market and the approach that sits on the mainframe in doing that. BMC obviously has Helix capabilities and those kind of things. So AI across multiple platforms. So there's a lot of really good content driven through from that kind of side of it. And, some of the analyst people like Intellex and all that kind of stuff also have some quite interesting information that I've seen published about that.
Yeah, I'd say be a sponge, look everywhere. I read articles almost daily, some from the distributed world, some from the cloud world, some from the mainframe world, and understand really where the AI ops, knowledge base is going. What I'm seeing a lot is the concepts from the distributed world are starting to come onto the mainframe and help us hone our skills around AI ops on the platform. And vice versa, a lot of the things we're doing on the mainframe are now being transferred out to the distributed world in the cloud world to help what they're doing. So to me, it's such an evolving nature of a topic area that to look everywhere and get as much information around it as possible.
Okay. I think that's great advice. And I think overall, this has been a great conversation. So Alan, Jeremy, thank you for joining us today and discussing this.
Thanks a lot.
And thank you also to our listeners. We hope this has been a useful session for you. You can check the show notes for links to some more information. The webinar I mentioned earlier, 7 Hidden Costs of Ignoring AI Ops. I'll provide a link for the on-demand version, blog entitled Equipping Sysprogs with AI ML and a Modern UX. We have a white paper, the AI Ops Powered Mainframe, and of course our BMC Amy Ops Insight webpage. So you can check those out in the show notes. Thanks again for listening. We'll talk to you next time on the Modern Mainframe. Take care. You're listening to the Modern Mainframe, BMC's Intelligent C Optimization and Transformation podcast, covering the latest trends and issues in mainframe DevOps, data, operations, security, and cloud. You've never mainframed like this.